Very good morning to you. Now, today is back to school day for many children across the country, and this special broadcast is taking us literally across the country. We were in Davidson a little bit earlier on, and right now we go to the Eastern Cape, where the Premier of the Eastern Cape has called for a back to basics strategy. He's working very closely with the Department of Education at the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, and all the stakeholders there have committed themselves to improve the quality of education and all that affects schooling, particularly in the northern areas where schooling was disrupted for about 2 weeks last year. Well, let's cross now to our reporter Iviwe Poti, who's with the Premier of the province, Phumulo Masualle, as he visits schools on their first day back today. A very good morning, Iviwe.
Good morning and welcome to the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro. We're crossing to you live from Galvindale High School.
So tell us what's happening there at the moment, Iviwe, and who's your guest?
Well, right now we're going to speak to the Premier of the Eastern Cape, Phumulo Masualle, who will be part of a number of assemblies this morning as people go back to school. But mainly he'll start here at Galvindale High School, where he will be part of the assembly, as well as handing out some desks and chairs to the pupils. But right now we speak to him just in terms of, the Back to Basics campaign that he's called upon, to approach schools and the problems within the Eastern Cape. What exactly does Back to Basics mean? And as well as what are some of the programs that we'll see run out throughout the year to ensure that pupils are exposed to quality education within the Eastern Cape? Good morning, Premier, and how are you doing this morning?
Thank you very much. Good morning to you and to the listeners at home. I'm very much fine, highly spirited to confront the challenges we have in the education sector in the province.
Premier, tell us a bit about the Back to Basics campaign that you guys have running within the Eastern Cape. What exactly does it mean, and maybe some of the programs that we'll see running throughout the year?
Well, let me say firstly that stemming from the class of 2015, we've been extremely disappointed with the turn of events, and it has actually sprung us into quite an intense interrogation of what were the causes of this calamity, as I would put it. And we've since then undertaken a few things to do, and we flagged this. We've got to go back to basics in the sense that it all starts in the classroom. We've got to secure on-time teaching on the part of learners on task. We've got to secure the school environment so that it is conducive to learning and teaching, ensuring that there are educators in front of learners, ensuring that the school management in the school is firm and onto the business of ensuring the school is managed and run effectively. And of course, we've got to look at support functions the Department of Education must provide to ensure effective schooling, EDOs, as well as ensuring that all the other ancillary things to support schooling are in place. Leadership all the time. Of course, we've got to make sure that the department shapes up for the task at hand. In the province, we have really kept and sustained for too long far too many small schools that lead to unviability. We've got to create centers of learning, and that we've got to ensure that schools have adequate learners and adequate teachers. They are supplied with all the materials that they need to have. Part of us being here is to make sure that they have received all their LTSM, they've got enough teachers in class so that they can go ahead with the business without any interferences. Of course, again, it's a matter that is going to require the community mobilization, because right here in Galvindale, the other external factors do impact on effective learning on the part of learners. Violence, crime in the area, it calls for everybody to be involved in making sure that we can secure time and quality for learners to be taught and teachers to be able to do that.
Premier, we understand that throughout today you will be speaking to SGB's parents, and I'm sure you also been holding meetings with other relevant stakeholders that are also part of education. We have heard quite a few people, call for a change of leadership when we speak of the Department of Education. Will there be any changes, or will there be any maybe programs that we'll see run out throughout to deal with maybe some of the problems or challenges that are faced by the Department of Education?
Certainly those calls have been made, and I've heard a few of them, possibly out of really the anger and frustration out of the performance the department has been showing. Certainly we will consider those, but in the history of this department, I must say that it's one, perhaps comparatively speaking, from across the country, one of those departments in which we've changed MSCs, we've changed HODs. The turnover is almost 9 to 10 over this period of time. It doesn't lead to any stability and focus, but certainly where there are glaring weaknesses, we've got to really attend to this. But the other things that we must look at, and we must get all the ideas together, is how do we make the system as a whole to function? It takes not just the MSc, the head of department, it takes a whole chain that we must make effective right to the school itself. So yes, we will consider those, and where there are necessary changes, such changes will be done. And I think they are in a number of areas in the value chain of delivering education.
And then lastly, Premier, a lot of little grade ones that are starting school today. What is maybe your message for those who are scared of high school, your grade 8s, and as well as your little grade ones that will be in big school for the first time?
Well, certainly it is to ensure that they are really warmly welcomed into the environment, and that the journey has begun and it takes the first step, and that along the way they will get used to it and will provide all the support.
Thank you so much for your time, Premier.
Thank you.
Well, that's the message from the Premier to the little grade ones and your grade 8s that will be starting. But from us right now, it's back to you in studio. In fact, let's link to an ad break.